I'm Constanza Romero, and I'm here representing my late husband, August Wilson. He did the film adaptation for Fences, and he also wrote the original play, Fences, which played on Broadway in 1984 and 85, and also in 2010 with Denzel Washington.
Can you tell us about, from your observation, what did you see in his work ethic and how he would dive into a story? How did he really create a world on the page?
Well, his work ethic was this: to live was to work, and to work was to live. He was always working. He always was developing his characters. If we sat down to work, we sat down to eat, he was talking about his work, and his characters were like almost real. He would tell me what a character was doing, and I said, "Oh my God, he robbed a bank!" How he developed it, he wrote in longhand, and then he would transfer it to the computer, and then he would always talk in his rhythm, and until it sounded good in his ear, he didn't finalize it yet, because he was all about his poetry was like music, and if it didn't sound right to his ear, he rewrote it and rewrote it. So and that's where you can see that he was a poet first.
What can you share with our viewers about being so close to someone that's so involved in the creative process, and how, in some sense, you're sharing your life with another entity, and that is their work? And how is that?
Well, I'm a costume designer, so we collaborated on a lot of projects. I would be sort of his visual dramaturg, so to speak, because I would find different photos that were inspirational to him, while they were inspirational to me too, because I was doing the costumes. And he would also say the lines out loud, and I would read his first scripts. And, I would say, well, this, what about this character? Could she be this or could she be that? And so the collaboration process was really incredible. But sometimes it was a little too much. We would be, as I said, downstairs eating, and he would go on and on and on and on about the play, and I would just say, "Oh, I've got to go to work." And then he'd follow me up the stairs and eat a sandwich right by my drawing table. But it's all just good memories now.
Any of the characters or one specific character in Fences that was most like him in some sense?
Oh, I have to say that all of the characters are him. And although the character of Rose is definitely inspired by his mother, but I don't think, I think that is the amazing breadth of his work, is that all his characters had little parts of himself, but they were also so imaginatively created. So I can't say that there's one person. For example, when he was a young man, he was like the older son, whose art nobody understood, because he was writing poetry on napkins and menus. So the younger son, not the younger son, but the older son, Lyons, he was sort of like him, carrying around that his pen and paper, like he carries around his instrument, and playing at night, but nobody in his family understanding why the heck they don't get a job.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And lastly, what can you tell someone about what it's like to share your life with someone who, at some points, maybe they're critical of their own work, and watching them go through days that maybe they didn't feel good about their projects, even though others related to them, but it was just a tough process because they were so close to the material and couldn't see it for what it was?
Yeah, August hated to cut. If somebody said, the play is longer than 3 hours, what are we going to do? So I think that he would be so stubborn, and nobody could make him cut something. And then finally, one of the producers, set me aside and said, "Can you tell him that 7 guitars is a little too long?" And actually, I sat down and I could really see where it could be snipped here and there. And I was able to help him do that. But I think that I was one of the only people he really trusted to tell him the truth, as you're saying. And yeah, not every day was inspired. Not every day was a joy, because creating something is not always a joyful process. It has a lot of raw emotions. And you're practically weaving gold. But the raw material is not always the gold that it becomes later.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. Okay.